Hello, and welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I'm your host, Chantal Cox. My purpose is to empower and lift up others who know in their heart they're meant for more. More joy, more impact, and more passion. If you're ready to make a radical transformation and create a life that you love, then you have come to the right place. Let's do this. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Create a Life You Love podcast, where I get to connect with people from all around the world to share tips and strategies to help you on your journey. So for those of you who may not know me, I'm Chantal Cox. I'm an author and transformation coach who uses the power of the NeuroCoaching Model to help motivated high achievers rediscover their passion and purpose in life so that they can rise up, step into their full potential, and create a life that they love. So I'm so excited to be here with my guest and my friend, Jenelle Robinson. Jenelle is a photographer, speaker, and blogger who's here to share how we can shed our shame and live a beautiful life. Hey, Jenelle, how you doing?
Hello, I'm so happy to be here today.
I'm so
happy excited.
Yeah. So I always open with, where are you joining us from?
Wichita,
Kansas. Jose.
So right down the street from you.
I know, it's so exciting. So for anybody who's maybe been following me for a minute, you know that Ginger Cat thinks this is her podcast, but also more importantly, if you've seen any of the beautiful pictures, all of those have been done by this amazing photographer right here, Jenelle. And we're in the talks of doing more photos soon. So stay tuned for those. Me too. Guys, seriously, like my face hurt at the end of our little photo shoot. Jenelle had me laughing so hard.
Yes. It's a very good talent of mine.
Which makes me so excited for our little get together tonight.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have a lot going on. You are a mover and a shaker.
I am. I have not only a full-time job, but a kiddo, my photography business, and then I am pivoting this year and becoming a blogger, and I am writing a book this year, and I'm so excited about it.
I love all of those things. So tell us a little bit, because that's where you currently are on your journey, is looking ahead, getting all these things in motion, taking action. What's been kind of your journey leading you up to this point?
So, long story short, my daughter was a very hard newborn, and she was colicky and thrush and tongue-tied, and she could not be put down for more than 5 minutes without crying. And it was not a cute cry. It was, I am dying cry. And so I did not have any more time to do my creative outlets. Like I do a lot of watercolor and different types of art, cross stitch. Can't really do that while you're holding a crying baby. And so one day my ex-husband was like, hey, you seem to kind of be not great mentally. Why don't you pick up the camera I bought for traveling and see if you can figure it out? And from there on, I fell in love with photography and just kept taking pictures of my daughter, and then started really like doing the education. And I have never felt a love for something as much as I do for photography, and have such a passion. And like, I could talk about it all night. We could literally be here till midnight if we started talking about photography. And that kind of just led me into branding photography. And I got introduced to the Hive here in Wichita. And so I met a lot of other women entrepreneurs, and I was like, someone suggested, hey, look into branding photography. I think it might be right up your alley. And I fell in love because some of my friends know me as a sailor mouth, and so family photography maybe not be my niche, because I may drop an F-bomb every once in a while. But I really try not to, but it's just kind of my personality, so kind of kids were out of the way. And I am the biggest hype woman my friends have. I'm like, oh, you can do it. Like, I'm so proud of you. I get so excited. So I love being able to take pictures, and I do primarily women, build their business and social media with amazing images of themselves. And also I have a talent of seeing women or people. I have a talent of showing people the way the world sees them instead of the kicked down, uglier, you're always so mean to yourself. And so I like showing people the way that other people perceive them, which is normally way better than they perceive themselves. And so, yeah, I got into that. And then 2020 happened. I got a divorce and I decided, I don't have to keep following my husband around. And I'd like to not live in Wichita forever, though I love it here. And photography is so localized. And I've always wanted to write a book because I tell people stories about growing up. Sorry, Mom and Grandma and Grandpa. And I've always wanted to write a book about it because when I tell people, I'm like, they're going to think that I'm lying. They're thinking I'm making up because these stories are crazy. Legit, I should be dead. And so I've always wanted to write a book. And then because of my divorce, I got a full-time job at a therapy office. And the amount of information I've learned and just how much shame people carry around. And when people are rude to you or mean to you or snap at you, it usually has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them. It has to do with their how they were brought up, how their parents treated them, how their siblings treated them, how they perceive themselves, how they treat themselves. And it has really, rarely to do anything to do with you. And I just want to kind of drop that shame and kind of help people, A, fall in love with themselves again, and B, like, take a minute and be kinder to people because you don't know what's really going on, and kind of drop the shame of trauma in the past, drop the shame of making mistakes, because that's also something people hate making mistakes. It's a lot of what fights are about. It's a lot about miscommunications or like, I don't know. I've also just learned that when you own up to a mistake and apologize sincerely, you get a lot further and bonds are built better. So I kind of want to talk about that too, because I feel like people are so stuck on, well, what if I make a mistake? Or if I made a mistake, like, I don't want to own up to that because it's embarrassing. But if we really just embraced all of our mistakes, which is what my book is about, and my blog, like, these are my mistakes. I hope you catch something that resonates with you so that you don't also feel alone. So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, dealer's choice. Do you want to first dive into kind of what your book and your blog are about, or do you want to share the tips and then do what the book and the blog are about? Or are they intertwined?
They're kind of intertwined, but let's talk about the blog and the book, and then I can do tips.
Love it.
Yeah. So my blog and my book are titled Ask Me How I Know. And it kind of came about because at work, when we're training new people, when I try to go through training, and I'm not always perfect at it. My boss will tell you. But normally when I'm like, hey, you can't do it like that, or that's not how you do it, etc. Or I'm like, oh, that's gonna be a big issue later. I literally go, ask me how I know, because I've made those mistakes. So I try to come at it as like, I've been here before. I've made this mistake, learn from my mistakes. And like, I feel like my whole life is like that. Like, ask me how I know. I've made that mistake. I've made that mistake. I've made that mistake. Like, and I think owning up to it will help too, because people, again, like I talked about, people don't like owning up to their mistakes, or they feel like they need to like hide them, where it's like, if we got again, Brene Brown is like a big girl crush of mine. And if we just got rid of that, we could be more vulnerable with people. We could be kinder with each other. We could be kinder to ourselves. So that's the title of the book. And it's kind of going to go through a lot of actually really vulnerable pieces too. I just started writing out for February, and I'm even talking about my own struggle with mental health. I have PTSD from my daughter's birth. And so if you're struggling with my mental health, ask me how I know. Been there, done that. Still doing it. Yeah. And so it's going to dive into that and kind of lifestyle, and not everything's going to be a heavy hitter, and some of them are going to be really funny stories. So
I love it. That is so fun. So I love that you're really going to be able to bring in personal experiences, the kind of current events, as things happen in the world. You can hit on that. Yeah, I'm just thinking back to like COVID, like all the fun things you could have done when the world shut down. So
yeah,
whatever 2021 brings us, that'll be a good time. Um,
I'm hoping a lot of health and a lot of happiness.
Absolutely, absolutely. So fun. And then is your book going to be like a compilation of your blog? Um,
It will, and I think it's going to dive deeper a little bit more into kind of my past
okay.
and a little more serious. I'm not Glenn Doyle, but a little like Untamed,
Oh,
because I loved that book. And there were pieces that were not for me, but they were for other people. And there were pieces for me that maybe I'm not for other people. And I just kind of want to share my story, because I think the more that we share our stories, the more we feel together, and the more that we really start understanding, hey, not everybody got the same opportunities as me, or not everybody got parents that were so wonderful, you know? So,
so very true. Um,
yeah.
yeah. So there is a lot that can be said, the nature versus nurture. Um, Nature and nurture does have a lot to do with it to a certain extent, but then at some point we are given, the opportunity, especially once we're kind of more in the adult ages, to make choices and say, okay, I may have had these hard knocks, but what am I going to do with it? Because you'll see two kids from the same family, um, same
Same
nature and
parents.
nurture, and one, is a super successful as like CEO or entrepreneur and has a wonderful happy like marriage and kids, and then another one is struggling with all kinds of demons and potentially drugs and in and out of relationships, and who knows, like we all walk our own journeys, but yeah, it's very interesting.
Yes. Well, and a disclaimer, when we talk about that, we want to talk about people that don't have mental illnesses. Having an actual mental illness like depression, that's really hard to get up about. So whenever I talk about stuff like that, I just want to like make a blanket statement. This is for people that are not currently struggling with a mental illness, because sometimes you just can't function. And that's okay too. I'm also hoping to normalize mental health a little bit, because it can change your life so much.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. I think the normalization, it is coming around. But I know growing up, my first bout with depression, I was 12, but I didn't know what it was. Nobody talked about it.
mhm.
It wasn't until much later that I was like, oh, okay.
This is what this
um,
is. How fun. Thanks, brain. Yeah. So,
awesome. So we know a little bit about your journey and the things that you're working on and all that. And so, what tips do you have to help people create a life that they love?
some of them are going to sound like you. A gratitude journal will change your freaking life. Um, Also, moving your body. And again, neurotypical people that are not struggling. I can tell a complete difference. And at the beginning of the year, I started just doing 10 minutes of stretching a day. Got bronchitis, couldn't do it. Back on it, and like it's a night and day. Also, this sounds crazy. One of my coworkers, who's also a therapist, showed me this silly 80s song about 4 hugs a day. It's a minimum of 4 hugs a day, not a maximum. And so I've been trying to get 4 hugs a day, and it also is a game changer. Again, COVID, be careful who you're hugging. Um, but it really can like boost your mood, because I don't, I, and then it's like awkward hugs. And if you can hug somebody, hug them for at least 30 seconds, or wait till their breathing changes. And that's when the healing starts.
Interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have read some neuroscience type articles about the power of that physical connection and physical touch. And I know I noticed a difference when I took up ballroom and Latin dancing. I was
Mhm.
6 months out of a divorce and I did not trust anybody. Nobody was getting near me. And all of a sudden, for an hour, like started once a week and then kind of got pretty crazy after that. But I was at least close to somebody and the hands touching, maybe the, arm around the back. And
Mhm.
like I would feel so much better after. And it had the movement, it had the physical touch, it had like just so much about it that really helped bring me out of really dark places.
Yeah, and I can't like that's one of the things that's killing me about COVID is I'm a hugger, I'm a people person, and even people that are not people persons, it's so terrible for our mental health to be locked in. It's also bad for mental health to get COVID. But this whole year of not being able to see people and not being able to touch people is not good for our mental health either. So I'm I'm excited for people to get the vaccine and get healthy and so we can all be together again.
I know, I know. Like I'm so thankful for Zoom because of the opportunities like this that it presents, and it gave me something to be excited about. I mean, this podcast is my COVID baby. The world shut down, and starting a podcast was something I always said I'd do, but oh, I don't have time.
Yeah,
Um,
you have time now.
yeah, nothing but time on my hands. Let's do this. um, so here we are. But I had to be quarantined at 3 different times.
Oh
And
my
when you
goodness.
live alone with a cat, like I don't have children, I don't have a partner, like I got nothing. So about like day 8, I'm like, I have not seen a human that's not on a screen in 8 days. Like, so
You
yeah.
just start staring out your window.
I know. Like,
Help me, I'm stuck.
someone walk by my house and wave at me.
Just walk by, anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, COVID has not been great for the mental health of anybody. Even the like really healthy, resilient people I think have struggled. So yeah, so we've got gratitude journals, movement, hugs. You said photography, I said dancing, so finding some type of passion.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Especially in COVID. And you don't have to be good at your passion. You can suck at it so bad. I still do watercolor and I suck so hard. But I love doing and it's just taking a moment to do something that you really love. And like for a little bit I was getting so busy and I hadn't done any art. And like even though I love photography and it's my passion, when it's a business and that's all you're doing all the time and you're not making room for your other passions, it can feel stagnant, it can feel gross. Like I even had my girlfriend come over and do an art date. We just for an hour we listened to music and did art and we didn't care what it looked like. And it was like, oh, my whole body just could relax for a whole hour and just be present. So
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah. So what other tips do you have?
So I just listened to a book and it is Single on Purpose by John Kim. And it talks about dating yourself. And especially with COVID, well, we're all stuck and single. Well, not all of us are single, but we're stuck. And if you happen to be single, start dating yourself. And that's his advice is like take yourself on a date, figure out what you like to do without somebody else and really focus in on that. Because then when you get in a relationship, a lot of people kind of blend together and don't do their individual things. And it's even more important if you are in a relationship to make time for your things as well. Um, so date yourself. Go to, even if you're not single, go to restaurants by yourself, go to the movies by yourself. Learn to be alone and happy. And it's going to be hard and it's going to be awkward. And the first couple times you take yourself out, you're going to be on your phone the whole time, but you'll get more comfortable with it too. So
Yeah. I gotta
learn to be
share.
alone.
Yeah. I want to say it was maybe 2 Valentine's Day after my divorce. I'd done a lot of work. I had, was very into my Create a Life You Love journey without knowing it. And my favorite Valentine's Day was I kind of asked some friends who were all in relationships, but it was like, I loved Zoolander 1. Who wants to go see Zoolander 2? Nobody. Nobody wanted to go see it. I've seen it now and I don't blame them. However,
I was about to say, it was Zoolander too. It might have not just kind of suspended.
yeah, it wasn't great. Not gonna lie, but I was really excited and I was really bound and determined to go. So you better believe I maybe made myself a very fancy adult beverage and had some fun time, like getting all dolled up for my date to myself. Ubered downtown where you can push the button and have like food and drinks brought to you.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great little movie by myself for Valentine's Day, me and Zoolander, and then Ubered home. And I had the same Uber driver there and back. And she was just like, I think this is so cool. Like, what's your name? This is awesome. And it was like the best Valentine's Day ever.
Yeah. I have a friend that just told me today that she took herself out to George's French Bistro by herself for Valentine's Day, and her waitress was like, I wish I was you. This is the coolest thing. You seem like the happiest person in this room. So really date yourself and like get used to being alone.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And if you like hanging out with you when you are ready to be in a healthy relationship, chances are they're going to like hanging out with you
Yeah.
because you're a fun, likable, happy person.
Yep. And you're going to know it. And so you'll also getting to know yourself and liking yourself. You're not going to settle for crap from other people.
That
So
is huge. Good. Yeah, I wrote down that book, Single on Purpose. I will have to check it
oh,
out.
it's so good.
Sounds good. Awesome. Um, so yeah, we've got so many good nuggets. Do you have anything else?
I don't think so off the top of my head.
Awesome.
I also manifest. And so I have a manifestation coach and I work with her. And that just, I don't know, it also just kind of centers you and kind of makes you stop and like really plan out what you want in life and go for it. So I would say be pretty specific on your dreams and goals. Because if you just kind of wishy-washy it, it's just going to continue to be a dream in the near future. And then one day you're just going to be like 100 and be like, oh, someday I'll do that. And you won't. And that's going to suck.
Ugh.
So,
do you want to sneak peek into what I'm manifesting?
yes.
I have officially even shared this with my parents. So that's always your, like, maybe not your, but that's always like my biggest fear is like, I don't want to let down my parents. Like, I want to write this book, but are my parents going to think I'm insane? And then I tell them and they're like my biggest cheerleaders. So I shared my manifestation with them and I said, I don't know when, I don't know how, but someday I'm going to be able to work fully remote, either in my own business or in some other capacity. And every 3 to 6 months, I'm going to throw a dart, and the closest beach to that dart, I'm going to go live there for 3 to 6 months, live remotely, and then come back to Wichita, my home base, recalibrate, see my family and friends because I'm sure I've missed them, and throw a dart and do it again.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's so easy.
Like,
it's
why not?
Funny.
Yeah. So I just got to figure out like how to pay for it. So that's why I'm like, I don't know when, I don't know how, but it's going to happen.
But if you're not paying rent, you can, I guess you're paying for a hotel. But it would be awesome.
Yeah.
You could do it.
They have all kinds of places now because remote working is a major thing, and a lot of businesses are seeing how much cheaper it is. And so they're not going back to offices and brick and mortar. They're like, no, it's way cheaper to have my employees work from home and they pay their rent and whatever than paying for a building. So all over the place, people are popping up like buying like hotels that have gone out of business and remodeling them with like little studio apartments with little kitchenettes and good Wi-Fi. And they're like, come on, remote workers, come live here for a little while.
I love that.
I know. So before my dream was, be a wife and a mom and da da da, da, and that didn't work out. And now it's been 6 years, 6.5 years, and I'm like, I don't know if that's ever going to work out. So what could it look like if
if you
that's not
didn't.
my dream? Instead of focusing on what didn't happen, focus on what now are the opportunities that could happen.
And those things you only have to rely on yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So therefore, there's a lot of like single on purpose mentality happening in my life because I'm like, don't tie me down. I'm
Yeah.
like, I got a goal.
You can come with me or not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, in Wichita, the Midwest, like everyone has children and does not want more. And so therefore, that's why I'm most likely never getting remarried and never having children. So therefore, I might as well go live on a beach.
Yeah.
Good. Well, let's really so kind of one of our topics of the podcast tonight was, giving up shame, and that shame really like hurts you. And we touched on it a bit, and we brought up the shame master, Brene Brown. Um, but do you have any specific like tips of how to um, let go of some of that shame?
Start talking about it. Start talking about it with a therapist, with a friend, publicly. And I think one of the things that's coming up a lot is the whole Me Too movement, and being sexually abused. And I had that for a long time because I was raised to be a virgin till marriage, and I thought I had done something wrong. And a lot of women feel shame around sexual assault because they're like, oh, I should have done something. I should have known this guy was a bad guy. I should have done this. I should have done that. And then men, on the other hand, also feel shame. Everyone feels shame about sexual abuse, but the victim should never feel ashamed of that. The perpetrator should. And the fact that we feel bad or shame around it and hide that to keep them safe is utter, complete bleep. I bleep and hate it. Like, I don't understand our society where we're more afraid to come out and tell people about what happened than they are afraid that we will tell somebody. Like, it's crazy. And so talking about it openly, talking, and like, I just remember my entire feed that day was filled with Me Too's. And I hope that made an impact on other people too. And also, there's a whole shame of like, I feel like I'm the only person that's dealt with this. So talking about it, no matter what you dealt with, I'm sure there's several other people that have also had to deal with this. And so finding a community to discuss these things with will also help lift that. Because when we tie it in a box and we put it down real deep, it blackens our heart. It blackens our attitude. It eats away at us because it's something that we feel like we need to hide from the world. Whereas if we share our stories openly, we're not hiding and we're not holding this big, deep secret, and we can just live. Yeah, because I've been in the back of a police car before. And I talk about that openly. I've done a lot of illegal stuff that I didn't get caught for, and I'm open about that. Slut shaming should not be a thing anymore. I have no shame in my sexuality and enjoying sex. I'm really hoping my grandpa isn't listening to this, though.
The power of the internet. Hi, Grandpa.
Oh, well. But like, I don't want to feel shame. And I feel also like when we have such shame around sex too, especially, it's not as enjoyable. Women especially are not educated, or so these are all like kind of, I don't mean to be gender typical. Women are ashamed about sex or taught that we shouldn't like sex and it's for men. And I remember one time a woman told me, oh, it's really for the guy anyway. You don't have to enjoy it. And I was like, then why am I doing this? Like, I don't know. And so I think that not having shame around sex will help with women's empowerment. If men are not secretly watching porn all the time, they'll have a little more realistic expectations in the bedroom of women. And then when we can talk about sex openly, we can talk about what we want from our partners, what we like with our partners, safe sex, and birth control, and how to avoid unwanted pregnancies and stuff like that. And I just think I talk a lot about sex, but there's also other things that are shamed in us in our society. So, and I really just think that we need to start talking. Oh, mental health. People are still shamed of needing help. But if you broke a bone, you would go to a doctor. If you had a traumatic experience, you should still go to a therapist. Like the fact that I went so long without seeking mental health after my traumatic birth was actually more traumatic than the actual birth. So it's just, I don't know, like people are human. Stuff happens. Yeah. And so it just, I have to narrow it down a little bit for the book and kind of streamline it, because I'm always like, I don't care. Like, I really do. As long as you are not intentionally hurting somebody, and even if you hurt somebody and you feel bad about, like, as long as you're apologetic about it, I don't judge. Like, I don't, because it's not going to do any help. It's not going to help anything. So, yeah.
It's a good policy.
It's my little tangent.
I love it. I love it. So really, I mean, you're modeling how to work through shame just by being really vulnerable and honest, and just really helping that change your life, and then also using that to change other people's lives.
Yep. And that's kind of why I'm sharing my story. And I've always wanted to write a book, but I was kind of waiting for my grandparents to pass. Thank God they haven't. And then I just eventually was like, you know what? I'm going to write a book and you guys can't read it. I'm so sorry. I love you so much. But no, because it's just so, it needs to be written. People need to know there's other people like them out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you have that calling and that you're taking action on it. That's a big reason why I wrote my book. Like, because I had no idea when I left my domestic violence situation. I was very much like, how could I be so stupid? I'm like, I have a master's degree. Like, how, like, I'm educated. I came from a good family. Like, I know better. I'm just so stupid. I'm so stupid. Like, to allow this to happen, to not see the warning signs, and just over and over and over, those were the thoughts going in my brain, creating my new beliefs and identity. And it was once I started just slowly sharing with people very close to me that I trusted, and then people that I looked up to, that I've respected for years, that really seemed to have all their stuff together, telling me, this one time I was in a relationship and here's what happened. And it's a part of my story, but it's one small piece. I'm okay. There was life after it. This isn't the end for you. Was so eye-opening for me to be like, what? This isn't it. This doesn't have to define me. This doesn't have to, and I don't think that person's stupid or dumb or deserved it or anything. So why am I thinking those things about me?
Exactly.
Yeah. So all the things and that's why I also talk so openly about my struggle with depression and anxiety and all those things, is the more we talk about it, the more it normalizes it, and the more other people can be like, oh, I struggle with those things too, and I'm okay. It doesn't have to define me. It doesn't have to limit me. It doesn't mean that I can't create a life that I love, or whatever terminology people want to use. I do want to definitely make sure that we touch on, I know we've talked a little bit about, I left my marriage because there was abuse. It was a dangerous situation. I'm surprised I'm still alive. And had I stayed or had I gone back, that would not be the case. I'm 100% sure of that. So there is a lot of stigma of, oh, well, If he's abusing you, you can leave. But
Oh, yeah. I
yeah,
forgot we were going to talk about this.
yeah. So
So one of the reasons I loved Untamed was she talked about leaving her husband, and it wasn't because he hit her. It wasn't because, well, he didn't actually cheat on her, but that's not why she left. Yeah, I was married to a really great guy. He's still a really, really great dad to our daughter, and we're awesome, kick-ass co-parents. Like, honestly, we still text and check in. We still he's an Air Force pilot, so his schedule fluctuates, and we just kind of have an agreement in place of what when we have our daughter. But like when I had bronchitis, he kept her for a little bit longer. When he has night flights or if he has trips he has to go to, I have her, and it's just a very open conversation. And I was just like, at the beginning of our divorce, I was just so shame ridden. Like, why couldn't I make my marriage work? He's such a nice guy. Like, why why did we end up toxic to each other at the end? Um, and I had a lot of self blame. I had a lot of worry and shame, and I also really did not want to tell my grandparents. So like it might be your parents for me, but I talk to my mom daily, and we're kind of best friends. And so I feel like she saw that coming, the divorce coming, but I didn't want to tell my grandparents. But then it's just also marriage it's kind of like, I don't want to say it because I'm going to be like stigmatized. Marriage used to be based kind of on slavery, and you bought women for a lifetime, and women didn't have other options. So they had to stay with the abusers. Because they had to stay with the cheaters. And it's actually, there's a different perspective. And my cousin sent this to me, and I still haven't watched it. It's like Adam Ruins Everything. And it talks about how divorce is actually a really great thing for women, because now we can get our own jobs. We don't have to stay in marriages that are no longer serving us. We don't have to raise our child in toxic environments just because we have a child together. And I think I've really lucked out with my ex-husband. He's pretty dope as an ex. I would not want anyone else to be my ex-husband, to be honest. And I know this, that I've left out, and I know other women that have not had such great exes and have made it really hard for them to be divorced. I really feel for them. But it's actually something that we should celebrate, because I don't know if I've ever met someone that's been divorced and kind of moved on that has done the emotional work after a breakup or a divorce that has regretted it. So, and there's a lot of shame. Like, I was like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not worthy of keeping my husband? What did I do wrong? If I just would have done this, he would have stayed. If I just would have done this, he would have stayed. If I just would have done this. And I don't think that anymore. And then talking to people about it, and a lot of divorced women that I've talked to, they're like, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And literally, the minute my ex-husband and I decided to get a divorce, we became friends again. And it was pretty awesome. So, yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing so vulnerably and just openly, because I know anybody watching live or a replay or on the podcast or on another platform that this will get put on, whoever needs to hear this message is going to hear it, and it's going to impact them in the way it's supposed to impact them wherever they're at on their journey. So I appreciate that.
Can I put a tip for divorcing though?
Yes.
If you are in a marriage and it's not going great, try literally everything you can to make it work. If it is a marriage, make it work. If it's a relationship, I don't care. So that when you walk away, you can say, we exhausted everything. We threw the book at the wall. And then you can leave knowing you did everything that you could. And it's really kind of like okay, we tried everything. Now let's move on.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's only if you're not in an abusive relationship, though.
Right. But I do remember when I was changing my name back to my maiden name, and I hadn't changed it to my married name right away. I changed it when things were already pretty bad. And then a few months later was changing it back because I'm like, I don't want to write this name. I don't want to see this name. I don't want someone to call me and call me by this name. Like, I'm done with this name. We didn't have children together. Clean break. I never want to see this individual again. So I was very blessed in that regard. And so I was kind of processing that out loud. And my dad actually said, because you were all in and you were doing the steps to try to make it work, to you didn't want to look back and wonder, well, I didn't even change my name. Was I really that committed? I wouldn't go stand in line and fill out paperwork and complain about like wasting an entire day um twice.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, subconsciously I'm sure that was in there somewhere. But yeah, so that's awesome. We have some comments from those that are joining us live. Thank you, everybody that's joining us live. So Arla says that she's also here in Wichita, that she recently started photography and she started a virtual 12-week dance boot camp. And I know her through dance. She's a beautiful dancer. Arla, I could watch you dance all day. And so starting a new dance boot camp, that's fun. And she says, I'm single, wouldn't mind dating myself, but I tend to stay home due to COVID, although I've already had it. Girl, I get it. I've had it too. And you don't know
yeah, a date doesn't have to go out.
It's true.
Pick a favorite movie, rent a movie. Redbox is still a thing. I don't know how. Or Amazon Prime, you can like rent movies on there. Make yourself a charcuterie board, get your favorite drink. Or do that and don't watch a movie and do some art. Or try a skill you've never tried before. Just YouTube something random and just try it. It's really just kind of sitting and being with yourself and finding out what you like to do. Yeah. But it sounds like if she's already starting photography and she's doing that dance boot camp, that is kind of dating yourself, because it's kind of, you want to try new experiences and spend time with yourself so that you like yourself, even if someone else isn't with you.
Love it. Thank you so much. All right. So as we kind of start wrapping up here, and again, anybody can put any questions in the chat if you have any as we kind of wind down. So I like to ask, do you have any non-negotiables?
For life, for dating, or what?
You can interpret it how you want. I usually kind of interpret it as like, do you have a daily non-negotiable? Like every day I have to do my gratitude journal. And I mean, allow yourself grace if you miss it. Like, don't shame yourself about it. But like, do you have something that you just really like, this is non-negotiable. This is what I'm going to do every day?
I don't actually do. I don't. Okay. So it should be my gratitude journal. But I don't. I mean, brushing my teeth, drinking water.
Those are good ones. Yeah, I support the daily of the brushing the teeth.
I do it twice a day even.
Oh, big goals.
Here. Probably I make somebody laugh at least once, even if it's just myself.
Nice. That's a good one. I love that one.
Oh, it's not a non-negotiable, but this is also part of the shame thing. I just started telling people when I see them, and if I see something that I like about somebody, I just tell them. Like, I give out compliments like it was freaking confetti, because I'm like, the worst thing that happens is somebody thinks I'm stupid or like weird. The best thing that happens is they're having a really hard day and I just made their entire day better. Mm-hmm. So I try to compliment. I used to try to compliment at least 3 people a day. During COVID, it's a little bit harder, but I mean, all my coworkers get told they're beautiful every day, so I guess it's not too hard. So
that's awesome. Yeah, and that can turn your day around if you're kind of feeling yucky about yourself. If you compliment someone else, like, because then they kind of are shocked and they're, oh, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And then
Yeah.
you get a little I don't know, happiness hit too.
Yeah.
So it's so fun. So how can people get in touch with you if they want to read your blog or keep up with what you're doing with your photography and know when your book is ready and out and you're looking for a launch team so we can all buy it and read it and review it right when you release?
Yeah, I'm just at jenellerobinson.com or jenellerphotos on Instagram. I also have jenellerphotos on Facebook, but I pretty much just post what I posted on Instagram onto Facebook. So yeah, I'm most active on Instagram.
Nice.
And you can DM me, I'll DM you back. Well, unless you're weird or skeezy. I shouldn't say weird. Everybody's a little weird and I love it. Skeezy, I will not reply back.
Good call.
Yeah.
Good call. Safety first.
Yeah.
And you talked about you have a freebie available on your website, I think.
I have a free preset. So when you edit your photos, it's always good to start kind of with a base preset, and mine kind of lightens the photos, makes them a little bit crisper, and you can get it on my website for free. Just add in your email address and you'll get an email from me.
Love it.
Yeah.
So if anybody is in the Wichita area or driving distance to the Wichita area, I don't know how much in-person photography you're doing right now.
I'm doing a lot.
Awesome.
Perfect. I should be getting also the vaccine soon, but I wear a mask. And then I can shoot from 6 feet away pretty easily. So
perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check out her photos. If you've seen any professional looking ones that I post of me, this beautiful woman right here took them. Last week's guest was Mike Rivera. You took all of his photos.
He's so handsome. He's so easy to photograph.
Don't tell Susanna. No.
She knows.
She knows.
She knows he looks good.
That's so fun. Okay, so let me jump back over real quick, see if there was anything else. Arla says, I like that, Jenelle. And so I wasn't on this page. It was 1 minute ago. So, maybe it's the preset. Said she's into photography.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Very, very good. All right. Anything left for the good of the cause before I close us out?
No. I'm all tipped out.
Good. I just had one guy at the end that it seemed like he was all done, and so I wrapped it up and we hit end and I stopped recording, and he's like, I still had 3 tips, and I was like, oh, okay. I'm like,
sorry.
Let's just go live again, part 2. I'm like, I'm sorry. So now I'm always like, are we
Is there anything else?
Anything
Are you sure?
else you want to share?
Are you done? Yeah, and my dog Champ is done with it. He's
good.
He's ready to snuggle on the couch.
Fun. All right. So thank you everybody for joining the Create a Life You Love video podcast. I would absolutely love to connect with you one-on-one and dig deep into a challenge that you're facing for a 30-minute complimentary coaching call. So head over to the link in the show notes or the description and snag a time. And big announcement. It's exciting and a little sad. Because this is where I would normally tease next week's episode. It's the last episode for season 2. Woohoo! So we're going to take a little short break. I'm going to recalibrate. I'm collaborating with some people on what season 3 might look like and how we can change it and make things a little different. If you are a follower and a watcher and you like tuning in and you have ideas, feel free to send them my way for consideration. And in the meantime, feel free to reach out on social media and stay tuned for more information regarding season 3. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with me on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this podcast, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.